Hey everybody, Heidi Ho, Summer of Live viewers. It's Thursday, July 22nd, which means it's time for another episode in our extravaganza. Keeping with the spirit of my Ned Flanders greeting, bonus points for those of you who knew who that was in the audience, please announce your presence or your current state of being by commenting with a Simpsons GIF in the comments for us. Why? Because we can, and we might as well. So Heidi Ho neighbors, post in your comments, give us a Simpsons GIF. We're going to do a little throwback, although the show is still going. So might as well keep doing it. We're so glad you're with us today. The longest lasting cartoon for sure ever. And the longest running, I think it's the longest running sitcom. I'll have to Google that. All right. Now for the question of the hour, have you gone Gutenberg? WordPress's polarizing block editor isn't necessarily new anymore. It's definitely not. It's been out for couple of years almost now, but it is still a plunge that many content creators aren't ready or willing to make. However, my guest is here today to convert you. Lynn Woll is the owner and founder of Create Whimsy, where they share the stories of makers to inspire everyday creativity. Interviews with makers are combined with informational posts to empower people to create, from quilting to beading and making fashion garments to embroidery. Create Whimsy is a passion project. In her day job, which we were talking about before we got started, she is currently SVP of Business Development for Fexi, who owns and operates Serious Eats and Simply Recipes, and has been in the digital recipe space since 2006 when she joined the All Recipes team. Lynn, her husband, and big dog Lucy live in Austin, Texas, and just became a grandmother to Hank, whose parents live in Portland, Oregon. Welcome, Lynn. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. It's so nice to be here. Thank you.
And I was admiring your beautiful artwork on your wall behind you before we got started. It's a fantastic view.
Thank you.
Okay. If you've got questions for Lynn, audience, please drop them into the comments. We're going to also share Lynn's presentation link right now, which is loaded with detailed screenshots that will help you through all this. It's 80 slides, so we don't have time to go through all of them during the presentation. Plus, as those of you who are frequent viewers of the show know, the screen sharing leaves a little bit to be desired. But we're going to post that link in there so you can follow on your own, download, look on your own time. Do however you like with that, but we will also give you slide numbers and screen share what we can. Alrighty, let's also take a poll here. Guys, audience, if you are using Gutenberg, tell us what you love about it. If you're not using Gutenberg, tell us why. Tell us why you don't love it. Weigh in the comments. I know, Lynn, you actually posted asking for questions in the Mediavine Facebook group about how people felt about Gutenberg, and there were some pretty extreme responses one way or another. People seem to love or hate it. Have you found that when you talk with fellow bloggers about it?
Yes, all the time. It's either, there's no middle people. They love it or hate it.
Very interesting. I'm not sure. I think it's a different thing. I'm not sure why it's so polarizing. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. So, Lynn, as I said, we're sharing the link to that presentation. Everyone take a look. It's a great presentation, step by step through many things. But like I said, the team and I have had it for several days now. We've been going through it, and we absolutely agree that you should take the show on the road and present this in other spots whenever that's available to be a thing again, whenever that's safe. But you've already got your presentation subtitle in your deck. It's on slide 69. I'm going to pull that up for us really quickly so everyone can see it too. It is how I updated over 700 posts in less than a year while adding over 250 new posts. So it's pretty darn impressive, and it had to have been a commitment. So how much time were you devoting to that over the course of that year?
So I worked on it every single day.
Okay.
It was one of those things where I had a site that was custom built. And 3 years ago, I moved it over to WordPress, and there was a lot of dirty laundry in the closets as it moved over. So I took the time once the blocks were live, to really take the time to go through every single post and reformat each one. So I committed to at least 30 minutes to an hour every morning. I get up, I walk the dog, and as I'm cooling down, because I live in Austin, Texas, it's hot most of the time, I would just sit and work on my posts. I started with putting together a spreadsheet, and I downloaded all of the URLs into the spreadsheet and to be able to keep track of everything. And at the top of the spreadsheet, so a little bit about me, I'm not a writer. I would much rather just put together a spreadsheet and pivot table it. I have a passion for SEO, and I've been in the digital world for 16 years. And so I love building a website. And so spreadsheets are my thing. So I had the top row is all of my totals so that I could keep track of how many I had done. And I'd set myself weekly goals to make sure that I was continually improving the content on the site. I had the date complete, whether I had SEO optimized the post, whether I had touched the image when I had transitioned all the images over from my custom built site over to WordPress. I realized that the alt texts hadn't been moved over, and a lot of them were way too large and were sucking up lots of memory. So I have resized them all, added alt text. I went ahead and I have a column whether there was a video or not, as I am now part of Mediavine and making sure that I have videos for some of my key content. I updated from Classic to the block editor. I SEO optimized some of the content, and I added tags. And some of the new features with block editor are being able to group the content, and that's one of my favorite new features. And the latest release is whether you can check on a link whether it's sponsored or affiliate to be able to let Google know that. And then with each of the posts, I've made sure that I build out my Pinterest strategy and putting pins on. So those are all things that I've tracked. Because some of these features are newer, I've got to go back through. I've touched every post once, but some of the original posts that I touched, I ended up needing to go back because there's new features out there.
I'm crazy about that ability to denote a link as you're inputting it so easily. Just toggle that switch on or sponsored or no follow or whatever. It's such a great feature. So easy.
Yes, so easy. I love it too. Yep.
Gina said that undo button is my BFF.
Yes. I've accidentally deleted stuff or done stuff and it was like, what in the world did I do? And undo is my favorite friend too.
I love that. It's got the Google Docs thing where you can I just need to go back a few steps and it's okay. It's not a problem. Yep. So some feedback from our readers. We've got Doug said, I stopped using Beaver Builder and built with Gutenberg. It still needs stuff, but we'll get there. Lynn says, it is so overwhelming. I'm here to see it in action because I'd like to try it. Guys, I don't know if we shared the link to the presentation, but let's drop it in again. We've got some people asking for it. Diana's asking for it. Brenda Thompson said, I've been using Gutenberg for almost a year and I love it. My faves are the reusable blocks and the ability to move things around easily. Diana says, I don't use it, but I need to and promise I will. I've just had other things on my plate. Lynn, tell us, this is kind of, and we'll get into this more deeply, but how long did it take for you to be able to effectively create in it?
I would say within like a week or two, like not very long. And, and I would that first week, the first couple ones that I tried to update, I struggled because I know that much about HTML that I knew how to make my pages look pretty, but not as pretty as I wanted them to. Sure. And right within 2 weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, I just love the way my posts are looking. They look so much better. And they keep releasing new features, which makes it easier and easier and easier to be able to make them look great.
I also love that it creates clean code. Like you don't have to worry about anything ucky when you're copying and pasting and doing all the things which ads love, which any kind of any updates love, like all that stuff is very helpful on your back end. Ben Heath said, reusable blocks are great. The editing experience is so much better. Custom blocks are great too. So many plugins for great layout options for home pages and other pages as well as posts. Another thing I just wanted to share quickly is that one of the biggest comments I saw happening over and over again from people was that they did not like actually writing the post in Gutenberg. Right. It felt antithetical to the way they like to write. And I noticed for myself, if you like to do that word processor style writing where you want to write in a Google Doc, then just copy and paste it into. Is that a bad thing? I mean, I like it.
Yeah. And so, I read that comment and I thought about it because I write that way. When I put a post up, I'll sit and the first thing I do is I'll start thinking about what are the main components, kind of what's the outline. Yeah. And then I'll go through and then I'll start flushing out that content. I'll write the content. And then I go back and I'll format it. Like if I have a list, then I'll go ahead and just, highlight it and change that from a paragraph to a list. And it automatically does it. I don't have to worry about putting in the HTML. And then I go back and put my images in, and then I'll go and make sure everything looks great and maybe add some, a separator or some spacers to be able to make sure that there's enough, white space on the page and around the content. But usually when you just copy and paste from a Google Doc in, it keeps all that formatting. Like it knows what's a list and keeps it a list. It makes it so easy. So,
and Gina had actually asked a question about whether our in-content ad logic would be able to determine, but when you put a whole block post in there, it will denote your paragraph breaks, which is what our in-content logic used to determine where to input those ads. So it's not going to break into your content. And it's not going to think it's all one block and not interrupt it. Like that's not going to happen. You don't have to worry about that. We have tons and tons and tons of publishers using Gutenberg, and they're not having any issues with their in-content ads. Okay, so this is an important question. Now that you've told us, proven your expertise for sure and how you've learned it. We know when you made the leap. We know all the things, but why did you do it? Give us a background about what is Gutenberg and why is it so great? Why do you love it?
Well, I love it because it makes my life easier to have a beautiful page. And but if you're really tied to Classic, you can stay with Classic. I mean, that's the great thing about Gutenberg is they have the option that you can do a Classic block. And also you have the option on every single block. If HTML is your gig, you can go and change it from visual editor to code editor on every single block and be able to look at the code and be able to do whatever you'd like in that. I think that there's so much more flexibility. If you're like on the fly, just wanting to add this stuff in, it's so much easier. And I'm a person who I love to learn new things, and I knew it was coming and I knew it would end. So I wanted to be an early adopter and just get in there and just get it done.
And that's a great attitude to play around with it. I think my first impression of it was that it is going to reduce the barrier to entry to blogging. Significantly. It's going to make it so much easier for people who don't have any knowledge because it's also clearly labeled out. If you want to put a YouTube video and if you need to add an affiliate link, all of that is there and you don't have to. But so many of our audience here have been doing it for years. So they've had to either learn the HTML or MacGyver the shortcuts. And so now I think it's just adjusting the patterns that we've already set into as creators on how we do it. We had a question from, let me check on this. I'm gonna make sure I get them all. Okay, Jillian wanted to know if you could provide a copy of your SEO update sheet. I'm not sure about that one, but it's not included in the presentation, but that you'll have to sweet talk Lynn and see if she's willing to do that.
Well, I put all the all my column headings in there. I had a few other ones of just other stuff that I was cleaning up along the way from when I had transitioned the site over to WordPress that really weren't relevant to anybody else, but it's just a spreadsheet with those columns.
That's not bad. And we've also got our SEO like a CEO series that has got all that stuff into little bite-sized things that you can check on. Cornerstone content, internal linking, all of those things broken out. So you can look at that. Okay. We had Jillian asking about what is that button about making your post sponsored or not sponsored? We're talking about links. So
yeah. It's when you hyperlink. So, and that's a new feature with, I think it was the latest or the one before that WordPress update, where now when you hyperlink, there's now options, and you can, instead of having to figure out the other way to be able to have it open in a new window, you can click it right there. And then it says, is this a sponsored link? And so that then tells Google that this is a sponsored link.
And takes care of you, covered you from an FCC standpoint, and you don't have to worry about it. And you're all covered and you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So helpful. Okay. Lynn said, if you implement Gutenberg, how does it work going back and updating old posts? That's where I freaked out. I went into an old post and it was terrifying. And then a related question from Noreen is, I realize this will sound dumb. No. But if I change over to Gutenberg, do I have to go back and update all my old posts? The thought makes me ill since I just did that last summer when switching over to Create.
Yeah. So here's what I learned is, just like you were saying a few minutes ago, it's clean code. And so some of my old posts, I'd go into them and I was horrified because now there is all this gunky code. No wonder that page looked terrible. And I didn't always see it when I would go into the HTML. Like, I don't know where this stuff came from. And so it's worth the time going through it all. You don't have to, but I would recommend it.
And it doesn't take that long. You can just copy it, drop it into a Google Doc or drop it into a WordPad doc and strip out the formatting, take it back over, and then just your blocks will automatically be there and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I throw it into Notes because I'm a Mac user, and it strips out all the formatting, and then select all, copy, put it all back in, and then do what you need to do. And it's super. I would say most posts would take me 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to clean up. I mean, my goal was always 7 to 10 a day to get it all done. And yeah.
Especially once you're rocking out with your reusable blocks, you can just easily drop in all of your disclosures, your favorite affiliate links, all that stuff will already be there. So easy, just click. So Noreen's question, if you change over to Gutenberg, do you have to go back and update them all? Is it an all or nothing thing? Okay, will you explain that for us, please?
Yeah, it'll keep everything just the way it is. It puts it into Classic and it's just right there. I just chose to make sure that all mine were updated.
Yeah, and it can be a gradual thing, you know, if you want to start with your top 20 posts, or you want to start move ahead of the season and go with posts that you know are going to be getting traffic in the next 9 weeks. Do that however you want to attack it. It's not a big deal. And then did you find it, in terms of learning and mastering the system, did you find it better to create new content or better to update old content?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm always adding new content. We interview makers, and so we put up probably 4 or 5 interviews a week. And so as I was putting in the new ones, a lot of times I go, oh, and there's a new trick, you know, I'm going to use that. And that's how I kept adding more columns. It was like, oh, I now need to go back to all those other ones and add that. And then prioritizing which content I updated first. I totally did it on which ones had the most traffic. And I started with which ones had the most organic search traffic, because to me, organic search is much more important and not as fickle as Pinterest. Even though I get more traffic from Pinterest, I can't control Pinterest. But if I work hard on Google, that's what's sustainable in the long term. So that's how I prioritized it.
And we completely agree with that and think that that is very right. Google does make updates, and we all know that, and we don't have to tell you guys that, but they seem to be a lot less frequent and very changeable than the social media algorithms, for sure. Okay, so when we've been told that you made the leap, we've talked a little bit about what Gutenberg is, it works in the blocks. Are we going to be able, so what people who aren't using Gutenberg now, they're using, how are they staying on Classic Editor? Will you tell us a little bit about how they're doing that?
So they can stay on there until the end of December 21. You've got 18 months to move on over.
So it's not a quick deadline, but you've got time to learn it. And as Lynn said, it's just a week or two to really gain it. Now, you were talking a little bit earlier about how some people who are in love with the Classic Editor, like, you will pry it from my cold, dead hands. And those of us who don't like change, which, I mean, no one loves change, but you said there's a way you can use the Classic Editor within Gutenberg. And I'm actually going to show a slide on that. Okay, I'm going to drop in. It's this. Okay.
Yeah, so this is the using the visual editor and the code editor. So on the left-hand side is using the visual editor, which are blocks. And then all you have to do, there's 2 different toolbars when you go to blocks. One is at the top, which really controls all of the things at the post level. You can move your block tools up to the top toolbar, and then there's a right rail area, and you can just change over there from visual editor to code editor, and there's all your HTML code. You also can just use the Classic block, which is exactly like Classic.
Fantastic. That is so exciting and wonderful to hear. Okay, we have a few questions here. So we have Carla is asking, do you have a breakdown on how to add in block for thirsty affiliates and Create? Which we're going to talk about Create in just a little bit, Carla. So hang on. Do you have anything for thirsty affiliates, Lynn?
So I'm going to be honest, I don't know what a thirsty affiliate is.
It's really thirsty. I'm a thirsty affiliate right now. See? Okay, Carla, give us a little bit more on that. Give us some background. Candace is saying she thinks she needs a demo. Do you have any recommendations for anything, or did you just do it all by playing around within Gutenberg yourself?
I'm a play around kind of gal. So I know that Yoast does have a free course out there that talks about a lot of stuff. I started going through it as I was putting together my presentation and realized I already knew what I wanted to do. I didn't need to borrow from them. So I really didn't look at any of the videos or anything. But seriously, it is so easy. Anybody can do it.
It's not hard. It's really not. We have blog posts on it on the blog too that we've been sharing. There are ways that Gutenberg works with Create. There's all sorts of stuff that we'll talk about here in a second. Okay. Shasi says, sorry if this has been addressed already. Is there a way to mass convert old posts to blocks?
No, not that I know of. If anybody knows of it, chime in, but I don't know of any other way. So you just need to go in and manually just click a little button where it says convert to blocks, and it automatically does it. Then you scroll down and see what it looks like. And I always then look at the preview before I publish it, just to make sure, because that's where sometimes there's some ugly code in there. And if there is, then I just strip it out, copy it, put it into Notepad, paste it back in, and it usually looks beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
And thanks, Beth. Yes, it's easier than you think. Jump in.
Just try it. I mean, you don't have to do it right now, but it's a good time to do it when you don't have to do it, and you don't wait until you absolutely do have to do it, which I do, guys. I do that. I wait until the last minute. Okay. Lynn said, is it a plugin? Yes. Or you just disable Classic Editor and Gutenberg takes over?
I'm going to be honest. I should have looked at that. It's been so long. It's been 1.5 years since I went Gutenberg, so I don't remember how I did it. I think it's pretty darn easy.
It's within your WordPress dashboard. Like it's not hard. You just click. You can switch from blocks to Classic, like Gutenberg. It's not difficult. Yeah. Okay. Candace said, I may have missed this, but does anything change with SEO by using Gutenberg versus Classic Editor? I'm so used to my plugins like Yoast being available in my Classic Editor. Candace, we have good news for you.
It supports blocks, and it's right there and helps with every step. I haven't had any issues, and one of the things that I've been taking the time to update my content, and my site traffic is up over 200% year over year. And thanks for joining Mediavine and all the increased traffic, my revenue's up 1,000% year over year. So
we like to hear that. That's not bad.
So it's worth it.
But yes, Candace, Yoast it's even in the same spot. It's down underneath all of your content. It's the exact same thing. It works with Gutenberg. There's nothing new. You've got it. Okay, Carla Hammer said Thirsty Affiliates is like pretty links, just with more data. I have not figured out how to edit ad directly via a block. I would maybe reach out to Thirsty Affiliates and ask them directly about how their product works with Gutenberg.
Yeah.
Doug Triplett says there is a bulk converter plugin in the repository.
Oh, very cool. I did not know that.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Doug. I don't know. You probably want to check some of them, though. There's always little. Anyway, Gina said there is no plugin for Gutenberg. It's default now, so it will happen once you deactivate the Classic Editor plugin. So you just have to deactivate your plugin, which you're using to override the default. Cindy says, I am using blocks and liking them all the time. Question, are you saying that at the end of 2021, we will also need to have had all of our posts converted to blocks, or just start to use them with new posts? Do you know the answer to that, Lynn?
I don't know the answer, but I would assume it's that they're going to automatically convert all of your Classic over to a Classic block, and that then you only have the option to use Gutenberg blocks for all new posts.
Yeah, I'm sure that if WordPress is going to ask you to, they'll be talking more and more about it. And if they're going to do anything forcibly or force you, they'll tell you. Okay. Doug actually shared the link. Thanks, Doug. That's awesome. We appreciate that. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Let's go back to our questions here now that we've gotten so many of these. I want to actually talk. You mentioned your results, and I want to show them. They were so impressive. You talked through them, but I want to flash them up on the screen for a second so that everybody can see how incredible it was. And I know that you also were doing SEO work at the same time and joined Mediavine. So there were other factors, but tell us one more time what happened over the course of your year of Gutenberg.
Yes. Well, I continue to have record-breaking traffic days from organic. July 18th was my most recent record-breaking when I wrote this, and yesterday I hit another high, so that's really good. And the last 8 months, I've continually had record months from organic, and because I'm in the craft and hobby world, generally it's November and December the highest months. So the fact that June was now my highest month is really good. Part of that has to do with COVID. We're staying at home. We're crafting a little bit more, but I don't think it's all that. So I've had over 200% year-over-year growth across all of my metrics at the end of June. Time spent on site and pages per visit are all up. And most importantly, revenue is up. And I love that.
We love hearing that. Very exciting. I'm inside and crafting like a fool. My noodle point is every day these last few months. Okay. Lori said, can you convert one post at a time as you update old posts? And Doug answered, yes. This is the only one that does it. You still have to check and clean it up, and you can convert one at a time. And he's recommending that you test one on a site using this converter before you do the whole thing. And then Amy Cat says, you're inspiring me, Lynn. That's wonderful.
Yay. Good. Yeah. No, and I did it one post at a time and just hit the little button and then just kind of looked through it all. It's the kind of stuff when you're sitting and watching, TV, it's so easy. It's kind of mindless work. So
the hardest part is figuring out what to watch on TV, because you've watched so much TV over the last, I'm running out. I'm subscribing to every channel. I just got PBS Masterpiece Classics and BritBox, and that's my new stuff. I'm watching Jane Austen because that's all I got. Okay, Michelle Price says, well, if this isn't a kick in the pants to give up the classic editor, although it does require converting posts for this, right? Yes, you do have to convert your old posts as well as write in new posts. We recommend that. You don't have to, and we're not exactly sure what will happen in December 2021 when WordPress says no more with classic editor override. But okay, we had someone ask a question about, let me see, Rachel Lankster said, sorry, I missed the beginning, but is the idea that using Gutenberg will bring more traffic?
So I'm not going to make that exact correlation. Right. I can't say that. But what I do say is I find it easier to make a great looking page, which then engages your audience, which they spend more time on your site, which Google likes. And I've taken the time to update each post and SEO optimize them, and also worry about my images and my alt text as I went through and did it all. And that's all improving my traffic.
Google likes all of it. And as you said in your presentation, which let's share that link one more time again, guys, if you don't mind, Google loves changes. But the other thing is, if you're a WordPress blogger, this is the future. Soon you won't have a choice. You do have a choice now. It could help with your traffic. It will help you go through and update your posts and take a look at them and clean up your HTML. But the other thing it definitely will do is be required of you soon. Mm-hmm. So you might as well get started going on it. Might as well do it. Okay. So there are two different ways to navigate Gutenberg, and you talk about both of them in your presentation, top and right rail navigation. Can you talk a little bit more about both of those things, and how do these formats work for our traditional writers out there? We've discussed my favorite method, which is writing it in somewhere else and then copying and pasting it in, but is one of those better for long form writing? I'm going to pull up this slide for you.
Yeah. So the top has some navigation that is basically about the post and gives you information about the post. Like if you're looking at how many words your post has, there is an information button that tells you all of that. You can move on this one. If you look on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see that the formatting over the block, you can move that to the top so that it's not in your way. If you're a person who loves to just sit and write for long, instances, that's a great way to do that.
Fantastic. Okay. Do you have a favorite? One that you prefer more than the other? How do you set up your own self?
Yeah, I like the way it is here with the toolbar right above the content. So when I start a post, if it's something that I'm writing from scratch, I start by adding a paragraph block with each of my main topics, kind of. Some of them might become headings, some of them might not. And then I start flushing it out based on my research on the topic, from Answer the Public or Google Suggest, and looking at what other people have written, and really knowing what kind of content my audience is interested in. And then I write it all out, figure out what should be headings and what shouldn't be headings. Then I go back in and add all my images, and then I look at it and then do all my formatting. And I know I'm not going to tell you what my favorite blocks are, because I know that you're going to ask me that later.
I am going to ask you that later, but this is your live. You're the queen of this live. You do the order that you want to do. If people are waiting on it, they want to know, what are your favorite blocks?
So one of the questions that was sent to me was, which are your favorite blocks? So the ones I use the most are paragraph and image. And I think that's what everybody probably uses for their posts. So I'm like all about all the different features that you can do in that. And what I really like about paragraph is, like, for the interviews that I post on my site, I always put that when the interview was posted, just so that people understand. And sometimes I update it. Like, one of my dear friends, who was an amazing art quilter, passed away last year. Well, I want to keep her beautiful work up there and honor her. So I make a mention that she had died of brain cancer, so that people know when they read it, a little bit about all that. And you can make that really easily. You can click on the paragraph, and over on the right rail, you can make it smaller, like just boop, and it makes it just a little bit smaller. And if you wanted a special font, there's all that you can do, and you can add additional CSS. Like, there's so much that you can do, but that's just a simple and easy way to format a paragraph. But my favorite ones are, I've already mentioned this, spacer. And that's when, how if you put an image and you have the copy and it's running around, and you put another image, but that copy wasn't enough. And so now your other image pops up under, and it's like, what do I do? And you used to have to go into the HTML and, put a spacer in there. Well, they now you just put the spacer block in, and it defaults to 100 pixels high, which is pretty high. I change it, for me, most of my posts, I change it to 10 pixels, and it just makes that nice little break. I add a separator line in and add my next image. So if I've already added my content, copy and images, then I just go back in and add the spacer, add a separator, and just kind of do that, and it formats it. It's one of my favorites. So spacer, separator, and then my other great formatting one is group. So
Dan back, he was saying he didn't know about grouping content. He said he's adding it too. So talk to us about it. What is it?
Yep. So Dan is a close personal friend of mine. And, we used to work together.
I thought I'd lost my. I'm like, why did we talk about grouping? Because I missed it.
He probably skipped ahead in the presentation. So grouping. Okay, so I love ads and I love revenue, but sometimes, especially in the interviews, an ad will pop in the middle of like between an image and some copy that it's related to, and you don't want an ad there. Like, you can set your own ad breaks with grouping. So like, I want the image of a quilt to be with when a maker is talking about it. So I'll highlight the copy, the image, hit group, and now an ad will not go in there.
Very easy, very simple.
Very easy. Mm-hmm.
Love that. All right, Dan, you jumped us, but we worked you in. Perfect. So, another thing that I think is so easy about it is the ability to upload your videos for the Mediavine dashboard. Yeah. So easy, so much easier than it used to be. You don't have to do any of the copying and pasting and grabbing the embed code. It's so simple.
Yes. All you do is go create a block. You go and you find your Mediavine video, and all your videos that you've uploaded to Mediavine are there. Bam, and it's in. Done.
And the picture is there. You can do the alt text there. You're not having to go into a separate media library screen. Like, you're not going back and forth. It's so much easier.
Yep.
I love it. You've converted me. It worked.
Good.
Okay. So you've mentioned some of your favorite blocks. We loved talking about those. So as you also did a great segue for us a moment ago, which is talking about monetization. You love ads, you love money. we want to talk about how Gutenberg can be helpful with the monetization aspects, not only with ads, but all across the board. So we had some questions from some of our audience in advance, and I want to share those. So one of them was, I know that for readability, it is better to have smaller paragraphs, and I love ads and revenue, but sometimes there are just too many ads. How can I optimize my post for both ad revenue and readability so that the ads don't split up content that should be together?
Groups.
Yes, absolutely. Groups is easy. You can also adjust. There's multiple different ways to dictate how the amount of in-content ads that you want to show. All you have to do is go into your Mediavine dashboard and look at the different ways you want it to happen. You can do it by percentage. You can set it rules. You can do a default. There's all sorts of things you can do there. You can also do what Lynn said and group them together in Gutenberg. But if you have questions on that, if you're not sure, if you feel like you have too many in-content ads, email into publishers@mediavine.com. As always, someone will talk you through that. Very helpful. Gina said, Lynn, your slides are so helpful. It's like a walkthrough via video, but you can move at your own pace because they're slides.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And then Lynn said, oh my God, buttons. This might be enough for me to change today.
Yes.
Talk to us about buttons.
Yeah, I don't use a lot of buttons because I'm more of a publisher site, and so it's more links and giving other content that people might be interested in. But when I do have a button, they're so easy to do. Yes.
Okay, what is a button? Tell us what buttons are. Give us the explanation here.
So if it's a call to action, like if you've got a landing page, if you are selling something, some of our how-tos, we have patterns. And so I can add a button, I can link to it from my media library, download this now. In fact, one of the slides talks about whether you insert media or with the hyperlink or use the button and hyperlink it. And it's so much prettier. And you can change your color, you can change the size, you can do anything that you want in your button. So
you can customize your calls to action. You can customize your affiliate links. And if you want to go back to a previous episode where we had Caitlin Fagan on talking about maximizing in-post affiliate earnings, she talks about how she uses Gutenberg to really kick butt with her affiliate earnings. So Lynn, do you do any affiliates on your site?
So I'm going to be honest, right now, all I'm doing is Amazon. I've tried some of the share a sale and, Craftsy that was Blueprint that's now Craftsy again. And I think I earned $1 or $2 on each one of those. It wasn't, it didn't make me much money. So why spend a lot of time?
Yeah, well, make sure if your audience, yeah, absolutely. There's better ways to spend your time if it's not something that you're finding. And you also have a pretty busy day job going on for you. But in terms of affiliate, the top key elements, enough about Gutenberg to tell us, what would you say would really be appealing to heavy affiliate marketers out there?
I think reusable blocks, like if you've got some stuff that your audience buys over and over, if you set up like maybe 10 reusable blocks that you think are great, it's basically like putting an ad unit in wherever you want on your pages. And you can then customize different things based on your content and be able to put those in. And buttons.
And you can make them look pretty. You can make them look professional. You can, like you said, change color, change size, change font, do all those things way beyond italics and bold. You have options there.
Right.
And it's so exciting. And then you can do all that without knowing HTML and without having gross HTML on the back end or adding plugins.
Right. So. And with reusable blocks, you can set a paragraph and say that you wanted it to really stand out. It's so easy in paragraphs to be able to add a little background color. You can, and like if you've got different colors of your site, you can put in your own color. You don't have to just choose the colors that are there. So on some of my posts, I've selected a really nice, color that complements my page to make those things stand out. And then you can even put a beautiful button inside that paragraph. Like, it's so easy to do it.
And it sounds like it's a really great way to dive headfirst into heavier branding without having to have a customized theme, without spending a lot of money on a designer. You can play around with it on your own and find what works for you on your site, which is super exciting. Okay, Brenda says, Lynn, do you have any tips or tools to suggest on how to use Gutenberg to create landing pages? Do we just create images and add in elements that way along with text blocks?
Yeah, like you can do anything. Seriously. Like if you want a beautiful landing page with like some columns in the middle, you can do that. If you want to add a table in, tables are super easy just to insert, like just start putting them all in and it's all there.
It's super. It's really exciting. Okay. Brenda says, Brenda asked, Amy says reusable blocks are the best. Brenda says, Amy, would you mind sharing the link to the one you created? I want to figure out how to do that. Okay, she did. She's Veggie Saves the Day. Doug said, the big thing for affiliates using the reusable block for disclosure if you don't have the HTML inserted at the beginning of posts the other way. Awesome. And that's also perfect for sponsored content as well. You just have that block that's saved. You don't have to keep rephrasing, reusing. And if
FTC changes anything, you can quickly go in and you edit it once. You don't have to go touch all of your things. And then it's updated across your entire site.
Okay, this is one of the most exciting things to me of all. Say that one more time and slowly so everyone can hear it.
Reusable blocks, you update once, and every place that you have it, it gets updated everywhere. So whether it's your disclosure or like for if you're using it for affiliates and you decided that this isn't selling as well and this messaging is working better, you can optimize that. So everywhere that block is, you now don't have to go touch all those posts. It updates it everywhere for you.
And if you're doing A/B testing and you determine that there's a specific, like you said, affiliate language for an affiliate, color, linking style, whatever it is, once you find one that's really working, you can go back and insert that block into however many posts you want. Then once you have it updated, you can change. So exciting. Love it.
Yep.
Love.
And if you have, like, say you're rotating 5 different reusable blocks, you can say, okay, this one's not performing as well. So what do I think is performing best across these other blocks, and update the underperforming one to see if you can get it even better. And so you can continue that testing and optimizing and seeing what works. So you don't have to necessarily go back and reinsert them into other posts. You can just keep optimizing.
And as much as we all love spreadsheets, and like we all love spreadsheets, you don't have to be keeping spreadsheets of what's where and who, which post you've done and which post you plug once you have the block, you might want to keep spreadsheets of what blocks are where, but so much easier. Okay. Brenda said, thank you, Amy. This is exactly what I'm looking to do and not spend more money on a separate landing page service. Of course. Yeah. And you can create it all in Gutenberg. Have you created landing pages through Gutenberg, Lynn?
I'm focused on my posts.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely.
But you can do just about anything with it. So.
Okay, this is an interesting question from Michelle. Michelle says, I'm joining late, so you might have already addressed this, but if using I'll try again. If using a reusable block on all these posts, you won't be dinged for duplicate content. Is this something we should be concerned with?
So just having one paragraph that's duplicated on multiple posts is not, Google doesn't consider that duplicate content. Duplicate content is when almost all of the copy on the page is similar. They know that this is just a block.
Yes, we're not talking about blocks of copy of text. We're talking about formatting or like your disclosure or your affiliate, something like that. Yeah. Candace said, so does the block editor only apply to blog posts, or does this affect sidebars widgets as well?
So I think it depends on your theme, and somebody else might know more about this. I know that I can use it on some of my pages. And I have category pages and my tag pages. I can use blocks there, but my right rail is set up in my theme, and I think that there's some ways that you can probably insert some of those. I just haven't done it.
Okay. Good feedback. Okay. Gina has a question, and I'm not sure we've answered it, but I think it's a good question. So I want to make sure that we cover it. Hoping I can get a question answered. Of course, Gina, we're here for you. I love the idea of using Gutenberg blocks to make a template, but even after I create a new post and click change to regular blocks, will Mediavine recognize it as all one and therefore ads won't fire correctly, or will it know that they're now all separate blocks like a regular post?
It knows that it's all separate blocks.
Yes, you don't have to worry about it. We're not having we don't have issues with that, inserting that in content ad logic. Okay. Doug says, another thing about reusable blocks is if you update the block, it replicates across the site. Yep, that's absolutely true. And we're super excited. Okay. Kelly says, is there a way to set up a block template for posts?
Yes, in fact, on the Facebook group, somebody had done that. They set up like a draft, and then they copy that draft over so that it's already all set up and ready to plug and play. And another person, there's 2 editors, and so they always have their signature line, whoever the editor was, on their post, and they had talked about that. So they have their basic template, and then they have their signature line as a reusable post. So whoever was writing that, they'd copy over that template, do their post, then they plug in whatever their signature line is. So there's so many cool things that you can do.
Super smart and a really great way to collaborate when you have multiple, like you said, multiple authors, multiple writers on a site. Okay. Doug says, block editing is coming to themes and widgets. Carla missed. Yeah, that's exciting. Carla said she missed that there were templates. Oh my God. Yay. That's exciting. We're so glad. He said, Doug said in version 5.5 that's coming out next month, we'll see a lot more of the widgets and the themes. Okay. Amy says, Brenda Thompson, I want to say this. I know it's a comment. They're having a conversation, which I love, but she's talking to Brenda. She said, it's great because it won't slow down your site like some page builders will. Okay. I'm going to quickly say on the side of Mediavine for page builders, this is something that we struggle with a lot as an ad company trying to help you monetize your site when you're using a page builder. We have a whole blog post about it. That makes it almost impossible for our in-content logic to work, for us to be able to get your in-content ads, which means that there's almost no way for you to monetize on a mobile site because those are the only ad units other than the adhesion unit that you are using on a mobile site. And in our current society, there are basically, most of your traffic is mobile. That's just the fact. So page builders, no. Gutenberg, block, yes, that does work. Okay. Lori said, have you talked about follow, no follow and how to do that in Gutenberg? We have, but Lori, let's reiterate.
It's when you add a link, there's a little button right there and you just follow, no follow. And you can follow, no follow a link. And then you can also mark it as a sponsored link, if it's an affiliate link. Which
are different. And we have a blog post on that we shared. We can share again, but those are different denotations for that Google asked, different classifications that go beyond follow, no follow. That's
and what I love about it is if you mark it as a sponsored link, it automatically no follows it.
Yep. You don't have to worry about that. And you are with the FTC, you're on board. You don't have to worry. You're covered. Okay.
Yep.
Yes. No worries about, Brenda was saying, yes, that's what I was thinking. No worries about anything weighing my site down or preventing you from monetizing with ads. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Gutenberg and Create. I'm going to grab your slide here. We have any Create users out there? Tell us about it. All right. Lynn, talk to us a little bit about Create.
So you know how those of you that use Create, you've got your recipe, your how-to, and your list, and you can build those content blocks either in your post or you can build them separately and then just pull them from here. So it's super, super easy. Is you just go in, you pick that block, you add it in, and bam, it's done.
Super easy, super great interface there with Create. And we actually have a blog post that we're going to share from one of our engineers that will give you a little bit more insight on ways for those to interact together. Megan has a great blog post about should you do it? Should you go Gutenberg? She's got all the reasons why. We've shared that. We'll share it again. So many reasons why you should. And Lynn is giving all of them today. And you've got this amazing guide that she's created for you. So. Okay, Sue Bonpain says, am I correct that I can take my Thrive page builder pages and redo them into blocks and that will be better for Mediavine and ads? I'm not as familiar with Thrive because we're all anti-page builders around here, but yes, as far as I know, you are able to create highly customizable blocks in Gutenberg and then you are able to use those in a way and use them without worrying about any issues with your ads or site speed. Okay, Doug says, if you are looking to do fancy block layouts on pages, check out Tom Usborne's Generate Blocks plugin. It creates various columns and rows for you, and it is free.
And I wrote it down. Thank you for the tip.
I love that. Fantastic. All right. We have so many people saying they love Create. Aw, Create. Its nose is itching because it's getting all these compliments. Everyone says, love Create, love Create. Create is amazing. Creative ways to use Create. Candace says, so far I've only used Create for roundup posts. We've got lots of ideas on other ways to use it. We just shared that in a blog post. Okay. Doug says you can do fancy things with Create, way beyond the basic 3. Yeah, Create is fancy. Of course we're fancy. Let's give the top, we're running low on time, but I want you to give your top 5 tips for creating professional looking content, because beyond it being incredibly, incredibly easy, which is what you said, which there's no barrier to it, beyond it being WordPress's preference and soon will be, whereas I had a colleague say earlier that while you will still be able to use the Classic Editor plugin, WordPress has said they will no longer support it. So it's risky to keep unsupported plugins on your site. So while they will let you continue using it, it's not recommended. I am going to jump. We've got a couple more comments here. Doug said, Doug, you are a master today. Doug said, Thrive can be converted. He has a client and he's done it. Wonderful. Gina, examples of the professional content. Yes, we're coming to that. Larisha said, one thing I wanted to add is to be really careful making a whole reusable template and then going back, because when I did it, it removed all the ads between the blocks. That doesn't sound good. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, we definitely don't want you to remove all ads between the blocks. That is not helpful. Sarah says, where can I find a word count of a post in Gutenberg, which is a super helpful, cool thing that I like to do.
So you're on your post. There's a nav at the top where it has undo, redo, all of that. Go under the one that has the little eye, click on that, and it tells you how many headings you have, how many words, all that kind of stuff is right there. Easy peasy.
Love it. And it's a great way to make sure that you're at least hitting that 500 words per post minimum that we're always encouraging you guys to strive for in your posts. It's a good status check in the middle while you're creating. It's just so many cool things in Gutenberg. Okay, here are the top 5 tips. I'm going to go ahead and share it. Talk us through.
These are my favorite things. One is group your content, and that optimizes it for readability from a user perspective, as I was talking about earlier. Like if you've got an image that really relates to some content, group it together, and then it won't be broken up by ads. Use reusable blocks. I think we've already talked a lot about that, so everybody knows what that is. Third is the spacer block, which adds more white space, and it helps for when content and images might be wrapping incorrectly, and it makes it all look prettier. Anchor text with your headings, and it really helps users navigate the long content, being able to jump to the different sections of the posts. And for images with copy, and this is in the deck, I know that there's the media plus text. I really prefer, and I think it has a better layout, to add the copy first, then add your image, wrap the text, and then add a spacer if there's not enough copy. I think that it makes for a consistent formatting and the fonts. Otherwise, I really couldn't get it all to look pretty. I think it's better that way.
Super exciting. Okay. Lynn says, how do I center align with everything? I'm not seeing it.
With the copy for each paragraph, there's a toolbar that's right above each one of your paragraphs, and there should be the justification. And so you can just go ahead and click on that, and you'll see the left, center, and right.
So easy. Brenda Thompson said, whoa, I had no idea about that toolbar other than undo. So what else is in the toolbar? Is there a slide in here that I can dig through and find? Okay.
Yeah, there is one. So slide 13.
Slide 13. I got it.
Yep. And so the top one on slide 13, the top toolbar, when it's unselected, these are the options. So you've got add a paragraph, undo, redo, then there's your information, which gives you the word count, all that. And then it shows the little outline, and that'll show you every block that's in your post. So it'll say heading, paragraph, image, and it'll take it right down. So that's what those are.
All right. That's so exciting and so helpful. Okay, guys, there's so many little jewels and gems in this presentation. Make sure you go through it. Uh-oh, we scared Noreen. Lynn said she found it. She's so excited, and she knows how to center a line, and she found that she's stoked about buttons. She's fired up. Okay, Noreen said number 5 went into her brain, and she's lost and scared again. Number 5, I guess, of your top 5 tips.
Oh,
go back to that one just to reiterate it so we can make sure.
Yeah. So So there is a button that says media text. And with that, you pull that in, you upload an image, and then you can write text. And it defaults to really large text. So what I prefer, I do a lot of where it's got an image and some text next to it on a lot of my posts. And then the font doesn't match the rest of the default fonts on my page. And so then I have to mess with it too much. And the reason I love blocks is I don't have to mess with stuff. I don't want to have to go into HTML and change all that and CSS. So what I prefer doing is write the copy, insert the image, wrap the text. And then if it's not as much text as the image, then a lot of times if you add the next image, it'll pop up under and looks messy. So then I just add a 10 pixel spacer and it's all aligned beautifully and the fonts match.
The spacer sounds pretty amazing. I'm going to have to play with that one a little bit more. Do you have a breakdown of that anywhere in the slides that we can direct Noreen to?
Yep.
I want to help her. I don't want her to be frightened.
Don't be frightened.
Don't be scared. Let's show this one. I'm going to show the photo with the technique real quick.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So the top one is how I use the technique that I use where I write the copy. And then the bottom one is using media and text. And you can see that the fonts, and this is slide 64 if you want to be able to look at it on the deck. The font isn't exactly the same as my default font. And I was messing around with it and I finally just ended up doing it the way I suggested. And you can see then that I've added in a little 10 pixel spacer there. Otherwise, the one under it would wrap up under that copy.
Awesome. Okay. So many. Diana says, this hour has flown by. Olivia says, thank you, Lynn. I need to be more creative with Gutenberg. I didn't realize there were many of these features. Noreen seems to be okay. She's excited. We're so glad, Noreen. Ellen says, sad I was late to this party. We'll definitely watch later. Carla says, this was great. Brenda says, so many helpful tips and options I didn't know about. We are so grateful and appreciate it. And if anyone is excited about next week, we have Sharon Blumenfeld from Hash Tracking. She's coming on. It'll be Thursday, July 30th, which is crazy, at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And it is growing niche social accounts that actually deliver traffic to your site, which we're pretty excited to talk about that, because what other reason do we have for investing time in social other than actually getting that traffic back to our site where we can monetize it? So Lynn, it has been a wonderful hour. Where can people find you if they want to talk to you?
They can find me at Lynn at Create Whimsy, and I'm happy to answer any questions and help anybody out.
Love that. And Doug said, if you want to see a simple site built fully in Gutenberg, he's showing it. It's right there. He'll leave it open for an hour. You've got the link. Shasi says, thank you. I say thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. And Lynn,
thanks, everybody.
Check out the presentation. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Yep. Thanks.